everyone. Hi, everybody online. Hi, everyone in the room. As Misty was talking, I noticed I have a little bit of sound, a little bit of shaking from this wire, but I think I've fixed it. So just a heads up. If I stop doing movement online, you don't see me moving around. It's probably because this wire is going to create some chaos. So I'm just going to juggle this wire through class so you all have a heads up, okay? We're going to start sitting or lying back, whatever feels most supportive for you. We'll take the first, maybe 2 to 5 minutes to settle and breathe. As always, it's probably a habit now. Check around, look around, double, triple check that you have a really safe area. There's nothing slippery around your mat. And as another gentle reminder, you have total agency over your practice over the next 45 minutes. Meaning if something doesn't feel safe or supportive physically, energetically, mentally, you can back out anytime. You can rest anytime. You don't need to give anyone an explanation like why you need to rest. Just take time. It's all about self-care, taking care of yourself. And with that, we'll pause for just a couple moments, maybe 5 breaths, giving yourself a short amount of time here to center a little more, to feel the ground, to feel the earth in your own unique way, to find some support, some anchoring, some grounding. I'm going to spend a little bit of time practicing mindful self-compassion with awareness and mindfulness. Practicing self-compassion. Just as you were treating your very closest, nearest, and dearest friend, drawing on that type of loving kindness, that type of support and care. And checking in with yourself with kindness and care, compassion. Might notice the tone of your voice. Might notice how you're responding to how you're feeling, to how you're breathing. Might notice how you're responding to the thoughts that arise. Practicing responding with loving kindness. Supportive tone in the voice. Practicing with curiosity and kindness. And working on letting go of self-judgment and criticisms. Just trying to practice being really open with how you're feeling in this present moment. And just savoring a few moments of your breath. One thing that yoga really teaches us is that feelings come and go and pass through. So one moment we might be holding a pose and it might be really, really challenging. And then that challenge passes away, it goes. It's not held forever. We use the body physically to help us feel energetically more grounded, stable, hopefully at times more ease, finding our own strength. We'll take about 5 to 8 breaths here. And then bringing your hands down a little lower on your lower side ribs. You can let your fingers just relax. And on Tuesday, we worked with feeling a little more of the diaphragm as we took inhales and exhales. And so deep muscle diaphragm, as we inhale, the diaphragm slides down, the ribs expand. And as we exhale, the diaphragm slides back up and the ribs knit in and down. And just giving yourself a moment to feel the inhale and the exhale. When you inhale, the diaphragm slides down, the ribs expand, and the diaphragm presses on the organs go down and the belly feels a little bigger. And as you exhale, the diaphragm slides up, and the organs release back in and up. And the navel draws back. And so how the diaphragm is moving when we breathe says a lot about our nervous system. So giving ourselves just a few moments to take a couple more breaths with this different understanding of diaphragmatic breath. And feeling the breath a little more down in our hands and the lower ribs helps us find down regulation, more of that easeful, calm place in the nervous system. 3 more breaths. And then on Tuesday, we worked with tone in the lower belly. So imagining we had that cummerbund or that corset on, finding tone in the transverse abdominis muscles, which wrap all the way around from the front of the body to the side to the back. If you had your cummerbund on or your corset, when you exhale, do you feel how there's almost like a feeling that the corset cummerbund gets a little tighter? It's like a deep hug. And we're going to practice for about 5 breaths, keeping some of that deep hug feeling, some of that tone as you inhale. So as you exhale and your diaphragm slides up, feeling some of that hug, like tension, and then maintaining some of that tone in your cummerbund, transverse abdominis muscles as your ribs expand with the inhale. So when we do more yoga asana or the physical poses, we really need the tone and strength through this section of our bodies to help stabilize us. And we'll test that out as we bend the knees and then slowly bring your knees up over your hips. So bringing your knees more or less straight up and down. Can you keep the awareness of the back of your hips? And then right in the middle of the back of your hips is your sacrum. So you might let your sacrum feel a little heavier. You can squeeze your shins and knees together and bring your hands behind your head. So as you exhale, stabilize through your cummerbund corset area. And as you exhale, let the ribs slide down and lift your head up into a little bit of a sit-up. Inhale, nice and long and strong through your spine. Lower your spine, head back down to the floor. And then you're gonna do 4 more like this. Squeeze your legs together. Try and stabilize, keeping your low back in neutral and coming up and down with your breathing. Maybe do 5 and then rest. If 5's too many, do 2 or 3. And then we'll all come back down after 5, bring our feet to the floor, meet in constructive rest pose. After your 5 little sit-ups, and just settle in. We'll come back for 5 breaths, practicing mindful self-compassion. So another opportunity to check in with ourselves. Noticing how we're responding to the breath in our body, how we're responding to the kindness in our voice. And when you feel your next exhale, we'll roll over and we'll build tabletop. So we're going to take a couple moments, build your table. Lifting your ears up as high as your shoulders. Tuck your chin, look down. So ears as high as shoulders, shoulders in line with hips. And then coming down into that lower belly area we were just working with. So as you exhale, can you come back and feel like your corset or your cummerbund, your transverse abdominis muscles, strong and toned. And then the navel up to those lower ribs, drawing up a little more. Gravity really wants to pull them down. So that mid back area, nice and long. And then shoulders can slide down your back, shoulder blades nice and strong on your back. We're gonna just keep your right toes on the floor and slide your right leg straight back. Now, when your right leg came back, you now have a lever. Did you drop your low back? Notice that. So feel, notice that cummerbund, strength around that cummerbund, and then we're gonna lift and lower the right leg 3 times. Try not to move your spine. If your spine, back of the shoulders, back to the hips, stay really stable. And then the right knee bends and comes back. And we take the left leg out, toes down. Stack your shoulders, they're about the same height with your hips. Lifting and lowering that left leg. Try not to drop the low belly, low back to the floor as the leg comes up. Excellent. Then bring the left knee back to table. Curl your toes. Either stay in tabletop. If this is starting to bug your wrists, take a break. Remember, we need really strong back shoulders to go through your arms into the floor. So if the wrists are starting to bug you, you could challenge yourself to feel a little more the back of the shoulders. We're going to curl the toes. And if you want more challenge physically, lift your knees just a little bit and do a floating table. And then maybe take your legs back one at a time. If that's too much, practice self-care. Bring your knees back. One more on each side. Whoa, those are hard. And then come back. Great. Sit all the way back or take a child's pose. Either place, you could come up and shake out your wrists. You could come down and take a child's pose. Coming back. 3 breaths, shaking out your wrists or child's pose. Noticing what you notice. All right, coming back to tabletop. You're going to float your knees up and then we'll find downward facing dog. So take your time. Walk your feet forward or back. Building your downward facing dog. We'll take your knees, give your knees a little bend. See if you can find your hip creases and draw your hip creases way back. Like you're pulling your butt cheeks out of your ears. You can let your head and neck relax. 3 breaths. And then with your next exhale, let's walk your hands and feet together. Slowly come all the way on up to standing. You can take your arms out and up, take a full stretch. And then bring your arms down. So standing mountain meditation, giving you an opportunity to feel the floor again, feel your body in relationship to the ground. Checking in again with curiosity, kindness, using those elements of mindful self-compassion to check in. Feeling the right side, feeling the left side of your body. We'll take 3 breaths in silence. And then just slowly start to lift your left heel up, just your left heel, and see what you notice. Sometimes when we lift the left heel, we shift way out, like we'll push your right butt cheek way out, maybe slacken the shoulder. Bring your left heel down and re-find your mountain. See what happens on the other side when you lift your right heel. Excellent, bringing your right heel down. So as we lift the left heel this time, pause, right? We don't want to totally fall, right? We don't want to become slacky on the right side. So in space, can you feel your 2 shoulders about the same height? About, doesn't have to be exact. The same with your hips. And then we're going to balance a little bit, picking up your left foot, hands on your hips. So when you're balancing, noticing something similar. Do you want to push your right butt cheek out? Do you want to slacken the right shoulder? So using a little more connection through that transverse, through those cumberbund muscles. And maybe even more connection to your back shoulder muscles. So, right, you're not slacking. Good. And then give yourself a little break. It's really important you're kind to yourself when we practice balance. Okay, it's easy to beat ourselves up. Talking a little bit about that in the room before class started. Balance isn't always everyone's favorite thing, including mine. To be honest, if I show up at a class and they're like, we're going to do balance, and my mind goes, oh, really? So this is a nice way to practice being kind, challenging yourself. Take a couple breaths, you got it. Great, and then bring that foot down. Good, 3 breaths in silence, curiosity, kindness, mindful self-compassion. Let's do half a sun salutation. Exhale, arms float out to come up. Inhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Exhale, walk your hands out, your feet back. Find your downward facing dog or your tabletop. Bend your knees as much as you need. Get the weight off the wrist by pushing back. Head, chin can tuck a little bit. 3 breaths in silence. When you feel your next exhale, hands and feet can start to walk together. Everyone has their own unique way of coming all the way on up. Arms float up. Arms to the side. Practicing mindful self-compassion with those pieces of curiosity and kindness. Paying attention to how you're responding. 5 breaths standing. With your next exhale, we're going to walk up to the front of your mat. Okay. You're going to lift your right heel again, do a little balance. Maybe your right leg lifts, couple breaths. Right foot goes down. All right, so this will always be your baseline. You can always come right back here, okay? So you want to have a baseline. You want to have a starting point you can come back to. We're just going to keep adding little challenges. So the first little challenge, physical challenge, will be bringing the knee a little higher. Right? And as you bring the left knee a little higher, right, we're trying not to push your butt cheek out. Try not to slack or drop the shoulders. So shoulders stay stacked over the ribs, over the hips. You got it. Next, physical challenge, which leads to a lot of mindful self-compassion challenge as you balance. You're going to bring your left knee back and build a lunge. Woo. You're going to pause. Just like you're going to build a house, you need to build your shape with lots of foundation and stability. So that back left heel is going to lift. You might play a little bit with where the weight is, front or back. Where do you feel most supportive over your foundation? Grow roots. Front of the hips lift. How far do you want to bend your right knee? That's up to you. Great. Just check down. Sometimes looking down is a whole new balance. Can you get your middle or your knee a little more over your middle toe? More challenge, your arms come up. And then we're going to be quiet for 3 breaths. How would this change if you were on a sheet of ice? Ooh. And then we're going to step your left foot forward and balance again. And then we're going to put that foot down. Sun salutation. Exhale. Arms float out to come up. Inhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Build your downward facing dog. We'll pause in downward facing dog for 3, 4, 5 breaths. Mindful self-compassion break. It's really quiet in this room. Maybe taking the next 2 breaths to listen to your breathing. With your next exhale, hands and feet walk together. Figuring out your own style to come all the way on up. And bringing your arms down. We'll pause, 3, 4, 5 breaths. And then when you're ready, we'll lift the left heel up a little bit. Great, and we'll lift the right heel. Remember, this is your baseline. You can always come back. We add physical layers of challenge. If this is never, enough challenge, you can always close your eyes. Step in that foot back to build that high lunge. Everyone builds their lunge differently. Take your time, build your foundation. So back heel lifts, front of the hips lift up. Nice and connected through your cummerbund. Maybe you take your arms up. And checking in, 3 breaths. And we step forward and hold. Whew. Nice, and we put the foot down. Exhale, half of a sun salutation. Inhale, fold forward. Exhale, lift your chest this time. Fold, and with your next breath, step back, downward facing dog. Building your downward facing dog, maybe take your feet out a little wider, bend your knees, pulling your hip creases back. If you'd like a little more physical challenge, feel free to come forward to a straight arm plank. In your straight arm plank, the physical challenge of keeping your ears as high as your hips, like the floating table, trying not to let gravity pull the ribs to the floor. Regardless of what shape you're in, curiosity and kindness, you can come back to downward facing dog. And with your next exhale, we'll all step our feet and hands together and slowly come all the way on up. Standing, stretch, mountain pose, hands to the side. We'll come back, just standing. We'll take 5 quiet breaths. Opportunity again to practice with curiosity, with kindness, listening, feeling our bodies breathe. Lifting your right heel. Lifting your left heel. Great, picking up your left knee. Stepping that left leg back now, high lunge. From this high lunge, you're gonna bring your hands to your hips and tip your pelvis forward. Projected lunge. Pausing in your version of projected lunge. So the further the shoulders come over, for many of us, that's going to be more challenging in that transverse cummerbund corset area, right? As the shoulders want to come more forward, it's going to change the upper body level or lever, and we're going to maybe want to dump the ribs towards the floor. So keep working against gravity there. And then if you want even more challenge, shift the weight forward and come onto your back tiptoes. Bring your hands to the outside of your butt cheeks and make sure you're not pushing your right butt out to the right, okay? So sit bones, go straight back. Maybe take your hands off your legs and pull them back in extension. And maybe float your left leg up a little bit off the floor. Find just your balance. If your left leg's up, bring it back down. Nice and slow back to your high lunge. Woo. I don't know about anyone else. That was hard. Step the left foot forward and bring the left foot down. Take a moment, savor the feeling, noticing, being curious and kind to yourself, showing gratitude for the strength it took to get into that balance. And with an exhale, half a sun salutation. Bend your knees, fold forward. Downward facing dog. Maybe you come to straight arm plank. Maybe you skip it. Maybe you come to standing mountain. 5 breaths wherever you are to just come into your own body, into your own experience. With your next exhale, downward facing dog. Then we walk the hands and feet together. One more time, figuring out in your own style how to come all the way on up. And arms come down. Savor 3 quiet breaths. Great, right heel lifts. Oh, left heel lifts. Great, one more time, right heel, we pick it up. Step it back. Build your high lunge, take your time. As you come to high lunge, ears back in line with shoulders. Shoulders stacked over hips. So right here, you can be mindful. Try not to push that left butt cheek out. Tipping. Pausing, spine. Long ribs drawing down and in. Remember, trying to work against gravity. Resist gravity pulling you down as you come onto the tiptoes. Maybe this is enough. This is pretty challenging. I don't know about anyone else. My left glute, my hamstrings are on fire. And maybe lifting your right leg up. Ooh. Notice maybe wherever you feel most challenged, send some appreciation for strength. You could pull your arms back in extension. Good, bring your toes back. Woo! Back to your high lunge. I don't know about anyone else. This is where I want to race to the end. So I think we might just slow it down and go really slow. What can we learn by going slow? Woo! In the things that might be a little bit harder. And then both feet come down. Great. Sun salutation when you're ready. Exhale. Whew. Inhale, fold forward. Downward facing dog. Maybe you're coming forward to a straight arm plank or a tabletop. If you'd like, you can come down to tabletop or straight arm plank and then pull the chest forward and up. A little bit of upward facing dog. And then back to table, downward facing dog then for about 5 breaths. And feeling, noting your breath. We'll exhale. Come all the way down to tabletop. You can press back into child's pose if that works for your hips. and your low back and your shoulders. If not, I know sometimes it's gonna be really challenging on our knees. Roll over onto your side or roll over onto your back. This is one of those times where you check in, you have agency over what you do. So if this is hurting your knees, roll on your side, roll on your back. 3 quiet breaths. And bringing awareness to the back of your rib cage and the back of your lungs. And you take 3 breaths, thoughtful breaths in the back rib cage, back lungs. Just really noticing the rise and fall. And 3 more breaths into the side body, side lungs. Nice and wide through the side body. And then with your next exhale or 2, pressing up to tabletop. And then bringing your bum to the floor. We'll roll all the way onto our backs. Did I just hear someone cheer? Like, finally? Did somebody just go, yeah? If not, if you did, awesome. And if you didn't, I'm going to pretend that's totally what I just heard. So coming onto your back, let's bend your knees. Let's bring your hands gently back down to the sides, palms face down. You can have nice wide arms. And we'll give ourselves 3 quiet breaths. And with your next exhale, feeling a little more weight in the heels. We'll press your belly button down posteriorly. Tuck the tailbone, let the belly button press down, and then we'll slowly roll up your spine towards a really low bridge. Trying to keep some softness and ease in your heart and your chest. We'll let the spine roll back down. Constructive rest. 2 more like that. Weight through the heels. Rolling up and rolling down. So you might feel this a little more in your glute butt muscles, hip muscles, in the back of your legs. And now if you're feeling a little more there, excellent. Trying to wake up a little more, feeling. We'll roll down, and then one more time we'll roll up, or you can take a break. If you're rolling up one more time, we're going to hold. We'll put a little weight in your heels and imagine your knees going out forward over your shins. So nice and open through the front of the hips, like your knees could travel forward over your toes. And then checking in with your jaw and your tongue and your throat and your chest. Maybe try to soften through the jaw, the tongue, the chest, and find a little more strength in the hamstrings, back of the legs, and the glutes. 3 breaths. And then push your heels down. Imagine your heels could pull back to your bottom and slowly roll all the way back down. And then just pause. And take maybe 3 breaths in silence. And let your knees come up over your hips. If you'd like, you could hold on to the back of the legs, and we'll take 3, 4, 5 hamstring stretches. You can point and flex in your ankles. We did a lot of ankle footwork. Feel free to hold your legs straight up towards the ceiling if you'd like. And then with the next couple breaths, we'll bring the feet down to the floor. And then we'll rest on our backs, letting one hand come on your heart and one hand come down on your lower belly. And giving yourself a few moments, settling back into the earth with gravity. Allowing the gravitational pull to anchor you. Coming all the way full circle, mindful self-compassion practice through your breathing. And start by connecting the breath between your hands. So right now, as we relax, this is a really nice time to feel the rise and fall of the breath in your lower hand. Connecting the breath from your heart to your gut. To bring awareness and mindfulness. Practicing self-compassion with curiosity and kindness. You might use your breath like water through pipes, moving the breath through your body with kindness and compassion. And breathe in kindness. You could breathe out compassion. Allowing your body to breathe for you. We'll take the next 2, 3 minutes here in silence. Bringing your awareness back to your present moment experience. Just noticing whatever you're noticing. Whatever you're noticing, sprinkling it with mindful self-compassion. And bringing it into relationship with your breath. 3 breaths. And as you feel your next exhale, starting some really slow movements, allowing your body just to move for you. You don't really even have to think about it. Body's going to start to wake up. It's kind of like when you wake up in the morning, you don't really think about moving. Your body just does it for you. So it's allowing your body to start some movement. Maybe then you add mindful awareness and go, yeah, I want a full body stretch, or I'm going to draw my knees way up. So feel more automatic, and then the mind can set in. And then we'll just slowly roll all the way on over and come on up to sitting. Thank you all so much for being here online and in person. High fives. You're all really strong. It was kind of hard today. Nice work. Thank you, everybody.